What do cows do when they get bored?
They run the nation.
No. They... One of the major things what even we have kind of observed is the factor that whenever you kind of have like a following, first of all, the band's lifetime is very small these days. Like,
Exactly.
Every other day there's a band popping up and a band just like
disbanding, yeah.
Or rather like 3 bands who will just have like people running around here and they're calling, yes, we're a new band.
Yeah.
That happens quite often, but then sticking to what you do kind of like through the long haul helps, like as you go.
Yeah, it does. Also, I've seen like bands that have been around for 10, 12 years just disappear without a trace, man.
Exactly.
No statement,
that's
nothing.
The fun part. Like most of the bands that we used to play with, these days when you look them up, you're like, gone.
Who are we to judge? We also disappeared without a trace.
But then we came back. That is the point. We came back.
We were on hiatus.
Yeah. That's like the best thing. What were you guys doing when we were on hiatus? We were discovering ourselves.
Finding our sound.
We were recording our album. I've heard this.
No, but then you'll have to justify it with an album to say, yes, I was doing this.
Not necessarily, because after 6 months, no one gives a shit, honestly.
Or basically, there's one awesome thing. Till I lost all the files. It was on my phone.
And on the topic of, since we're talking about gigs and recording here, we're in a studio. So we just wanted to ask you, what's the difference between playing live and playing in a recording studio?
When you're playing live, you just have that extra energy where, you're on stage, you have all those people watching you.
Yeah, you're bouncing off of the energy of the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. And but in the studio, you can actually hear yourself. You can hear what you're playing.
And
when
you can curse each other.
You can know where exactly you're up, which I think I'd have to give props to our engineer as well, Clinton, who has a brilliant ear for this stuff. I would never have, I wouldn't have the same precision that he does. And for me, I think in the studio, finally, what the main difference was that, fine, this is the lineup for this album. No changes. No, this gig we're playing with one lineup, next gig we're playing with another one.
That's the most difficult thing to sustain as any band in Bangalore or like say in India. We're having a constant lineup, because we also played gigs where we've had different vocalists in like a span of 3 months.
When we started out, actually, so initially the idea that was conceptualized by me and our first guitarist and vocalist Sonaksh, who was it was me and him were friends since our school, and so we always wanted to start a band together, and eventually he was already in a whole bunch of bands, and finally when we met our bassist, his name's Alfred, and
not here unfortunately.
So Alfred, I think Alfred the bassist and Deepo our first drummer, so this was the lineup that we started out with. At this time, before we conceptualized the idea, I had a few songs that I had already written, and at that time we didn't have the same direction that we do now.
Yeah, that happens. It's because when you're beginning off, you're so isolated in your own silos that you're kind of like, hey, this has to be like this.
Exactly. So, and what I wanted to do was like an old school thrash sort of, and Sonaksh had a completely different idea with his he had his tech death influences and stuff, and most of the time we had no idea where we were going. So
exactly. And then trying to figure where both of them piece together, it kind of, you'll be like, dude, it's okay, chill out, you go do your stuff, we'll do our stuff.
That's why essentially we started in January 2017. That's when I decided that I wanted to do this, and we spoke about it, that this is what we and that's when we met Vijit for the first. That was our first lineup. So me on guitars, Vijit on drums, Alfred on bass, and Sonaksh on guitars and vocals. So when this started out, we were figuring out stuff as we went, but we had a sort of a
direction.
Which solidified with time. Lot of disagreements, lot of fights on that.
That brings about a lot of things, honestly speaking. I'll tell you, like,
But that's part of being a band also.
Yeah, that's
It's
part of
just-
being a
Yeah,
band.
a wise man once said being in a band is like being in a relationship with 4 people you hate.
Yeah, it's literally being stuck there, and then you need to kind of keep seeing them in and out every week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
regular basis.
This wise man was whole drummer Rakshit Herur, if you're watching.
Yeah.
You are a wise man.
Yes.
So next up, is there anything, I mean, on topic of recording, what's next for you guys?
Yeah, so right now we just want to look at what we're doing now. We don't want to look too farther. But we started out with a completely different idea for the recording. So we played a lot of gigs in 2017, and as soon as I think we played 0 gigs this year, literally 0.
Yeah,
So, and that's understandable. I mean, I wouldn't go watch a band multiple times if I haven't heard their music. Which, yeah, so, and since we already had our songs written, when Nitin joined us, which was November 2017, we had all our songs written already. And so we decided, like, we'll start off recording a demo.
Exactly.
And the demo's idea was completely different. It was supposed to be very, small scale, just to make sure some of our music's out.
Yeah, it's just to kind of give to the promoters and all this.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
okay, hey, we exist.
Yeah.
We play like this, so if you're interested.
Yeah, exactly. So if you say old school death metal, the people who like that genre would be interested to see
Yes.
what you bring to it. So that's what we started out with. Probably do a live recording and cut off the edges and make it sound more balanced and just put it out so that people can hear what you're like. But eventually the whole idea evolved, and now we're finally sitting on an EP that we'll be releasing. And initially what we thought is we'll start off recording a full length immediately
Okay.
this year. So we'll just start writing more songs, and the songs that we have in our demo, we'll improve them further. And but I think we're finally happy.
I'm done. Let the world know about this kind of.
It's a fine balance between getting word out.
Yeah, exactly.
And like
Working
you
on new
wanting
stuff.
to that perfect thing which has to go out.
Yeah,
Like compromise and be like, okay.
See, as a band, we know we have a lot of things to improve on. We know where we need to work, and
Yes.
what we need to perfect in our next release or whatever else we write. But at the same time, when we are happy with what we have done, I think that's all that matters to us in the end. Feedback is obviously appreciated, but not to the extent where.
Yeah, I know. We shouldn't rely completely on that either.
Yeah, we don't. As long as we're happy, we don't care. That's our motto. Our motto is, we know you don't like us. We're just trying to change your opinion.
Yeah.
So we just finished the recording about a couple of weeks back. So we're waiting for the final mix and master, and we'll be pressing a limited number of CDs like every other band. So we're expecting it to be out probably early Jan or late we're hoping to release a single in mid-December. That would be like the ideal.
That's a pretty good timeline when you think.
Yeah, that also the only timeline that we can adhere to now. This was supposed to take about effectively 6 months, but I think we've sat on it for over 8 months. Lack of experience, can't help it. So yeah, our EP, as we said, it has 4 songs, 4 complete tracks that we've written, and 2 intros. Okay. So totally 6 tracks on the CD.
So we just want to end this with a quick sort of rapid fire and want to get your opinions and inputs on these, each one of you. So to start with, who's your greatest influence? What sort of got you into the scene?
For me, it would be Cryptos.
Okay, for me, it's a like totally different background. So like I come from like because people like
Rapid fire.
oh, rapid fire. Okay, I used to listen to a lot of like Eric Clapton, and slowly I got into Sabbath, Priest, and then recently got into death metal. Started off with death and like
I also started listening to Guns N' Roses when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And
even I did. No.
This is rapid fire.
What about you?
Yeah, personally, I also have a lot of blues influences from right from blues and classic rock, Dire Straits, Eric Clapton, Albert King, that kind of stuff. And with death metal, with Regicide in mind, I'd say what started off the band for me was Bolt Thrower. That's where I got introduced to the genre. That's what made me want to dig deeper.
If you weren't playing your current instrument,
Yeah.
what would you play?
I would probably be playing the bass. And there are too many guitarists already, so damn, I don't know. I'd probably not be playing anything if I wasn't playing probably be playing the keys or piano or something.
What about you?
I think drums.
Drums.
Yeah. I told him like I'm a better drummer than like most of them.
Yeah, apparently
I think
Nitin's
so.
the
Third
third
best drummer. Yeah.
This is an inside joke in the band.
Yeah.
Nitin is supposed to be like the third best drummer in Bangalore.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Bangalore, like the world. We've actually we have rankings where we have people like Gene Hoglan and all that, but Nitin's third.
Yes.
Nitin's
Then he
like-
comes. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm somewhere on the bottom, but I'm
50
below
or something.
Nitin.
In their projected hopes, Vijit is going to be someday, hopefully, the drummer of Cryptos, and Nitin here is going to be drumming for Cryptopsy, hopefully.
What about
But I
you?
have
What
all
would
their
you be
modes.
playing?
I'm actually really surprised I have an answer to this, but there's an instrument called the theremin, which
Yeah.
is fascinated the hell out of me, dude.
What are your respective day jobs?
I just graduated from Christ. I don't have a day job right now. So,
okay.
what about you, Nitin?
No day job.
And he's very
Also a
talented.
VFX
Check him out,
guy.
guys.
Oh.
Yeah, I am also doing a course on VFX. So
I've been working as an embedded systems engineer for about a year now.
Point made with this, metalheads are not jobless. We're jobless only if we want to be.
No, we're jobless by choice.
Yeah.
I mean, most metalheads, like you say, 50 to 60 people is the audience, and they all have a combined IQ of 100. Looks bad for the scene, yeah.
I'm not going to edit that.
Everybody
I'm
watching,
not going to edit
everybody
that.
watching this at home is saying,
saying,
"How doesn't say this, dude? Speak for yourself, man."
No, wait, what? I'm justifying, like, vindicating my position here. I'm saying it looks bad for the scene. If
Point.
Yeah, like please still come and watch us. We're not.
Yeah, please.
Whether we don't.
Coming out, we have.
We're all very nice, smart guys. Please.
our IQ equals our CD sales.
So I want each of you to give me the most horrible joke that you know.
Oh, dude.
Sudarshan.
Totally my ball.
Okay, let's
Sudarshan.
start.
Oh, all right. So, okay, what do you get for getting into an accident?
What?
A ward.
Oh my god.
Okay, now the bar is
My
set
mom's a
for-
doctor who's probably sitting
Okay,
at
I
home
can't
here
believe
and
that
going
one.
like, "Oh shit, that wasn't bad."
Hi, auntie.
More than that,
You
I
get along
think-
with Sudarshan, mom.
Yeah. Now the bar is set like really in an awesome level, so you will have lot to compete with.
lately I was watching a lot of these Nityananda. I can't say, but there's this one dialogue he says like E is equal to not MC square, it is MC square.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, see, again, back to my point about the IQ.
Man, those guys are hilarious. He's not equal to MC square. It's MC. Like, and they also say that
Every plate is
a
murder.
vegetarian brain can retain the information, but a non-vegetarian brain
Cannot.
cannot. Like, what even is a vegetarian or vegetarian brain?
Moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward.
Yeah.
We need the joke from you now.
It's probably something Sudarshan's told me in the past, though. There was a guy who went into a jungle where apparently nobody's come back from that jungle ever.
Okay.
And he...
Oh, I know what he's talking about. The place in Japan, right?
It's just a joke, bro. So this guy goes to the jungle and he's like the first man who's ever survived and come back apparently.
Okay.
So there's a lot of media that surrounds him and they ask him like, fuck, how did you do this? Like, how did you survive this? So he tells them like, oh yeah, it was really simple. I was on my bike and I saw a tiger right in front of me. And I did like the smartest thing I could think of at the time. I showed him the right indicator and I turned left. I was like, damn,
It's actually really unfortunate that our bassist isn't here. He's like the resident humor of the band. Yeah,
Oh, shit.
that's what he's brought to the band. We write music, he brings the
He brings the
jokes.
jokes.
Alfred is definitely the funniest guy in the band.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt.
Okay, so now I have a bad joke for you people. You can now rate me in your Alfred scale. What do cows do when they get bored?
They run the nation.
No. They You know what cows do when they get bored? They go to the movies.
Oh man.
Will you please hit him?
So, what do you feel? How was this experience?
Interviews
This-
are our thing either. So
Yeah, that's why we're like, fuck it, we'll just talk to them in person, just record it.
Yeah, I guess it's always
Interviews
better
don't
because
know.
it's more free flowing and you always have a better
Exactly, yeah.
outcome if you have it in a format of a free flowing conversation rather than you giving us like questions like, okay, this is what we're gonna ask you and you prepare an
That's
answer for
like
it.
I'll vouch for that.
especially us guys with interviews. What about a band? When you guys are playing? क्या आपके टूथपेस्ट में नमक है?
Soon, hashtag we will see.
Also, it's not all bad jokes. Just saying, it's because you specifically asked for bad jokes.
Imagine so many guys watching this right now going like, no Sudarshan, no. With you, it's just bad jokes. You guys know who you are.
So now comes the awkward part when we don't even know how to end this.
Anyway, so guys, we had Regicide with us. Please check out their.
So guys, that was Regicide. They have an EP coming out. Please listen to them. Buy their CDs, buy their t-shirts.
What t-shirts?
We are TUGGtv and Namaskar.
And as always, stay metal.
Ishte metal.